So everybody, for the B block today, where it was just America's birthday, July 4th, let's celebrate by talking about great American hockey that's been played the last few years. So we're going to go to our power rankings for the best American hockey player right now. And we're going to start with our Mr. Anthony Larocco reading them off.
So first, I want to, my honorable mention, I had Tage Thompson. Hell of a year in Buffalo. I mean, he was dominant at times, and for a guy like his size to possess that skill and skating ability is impressive. Usually, a guy that big is a little bit of a slug. Not Tage Thompson, hell of a hockey player. I also want to give a shout out to Adam Fox, because when I was making this list, I was just like thinking of like forwards and whatnot, and I totally forgot about him. And then I saw Phil had him up there. I'm like, oh, I'm not going to reformat things now, so I'll just go with what I had. But I totally forgot about American defensemen. Number 5, Jack Eichel. What a story. Comes back from the surgery that he had after spending all those years in Buffalo and having to deal with all that drama and around his trade requests and when he was going to get out, if they were going to allow him to have the surgery. People talking about how, he's hasn't played in playoffs. Can he win in the playoffs? Went into Vegas, great attitude, started to get back to who he was when he first came into the league. And then in the playoffs, he was an absolute monster. And to have him at 5 just really goes to show how good the state of America, USA hockey is right now. So you could really have him up a couple slots higher if you wanted to, and I really wouldn't argue about it. But I had him rounding out my top 5 at number 5. Talk about a good story. This guy was kind of relatively, unknown when he first came to the league. He was going to be a good player, but I don't think anybody really knew he was going to reach the elevation that he did. One of the best goal scorers in the league. In Dallas, he doesn't have that much around him either, I think, which makes it a little more impressive. Like Rope Hintz is a really good player, but Joe Pavelski. But Jason Robertson really drives Dallas and makes them go. He's only going to get better. He's still young. So he slotted in number 4. Number 3, Matt Tkachuk. I mean, what can you say about him? The guy had a ridiculous season. If not for Connor McDavid having just like an ungodly year, this guy is my MVP choice. The way he basically put Florida on his back and lugged them into the playoffs, back-to-back 100-point seasons with 2 different teams, playing with a broken sternum, and just his grit and how he never gives up on a play. I mean, how can you not love this guy? And that's one of the reasons why, a guy in this year's draft class like Leonard, a lot of interest in, because, models his game after Matt Tkachuk. So Matt Tkachuk, hell of a year. We'll see if he can do it again. It's going to be hard to follow that up. But then again, he did it from the year prior, so we'll see. By his standards, honestly, a little bit of probably a disappointing season. I think he would tell you that himself. But this is a guy that possesses the best shot in the National Hockey League, in my opinion, in terms of like release and wrister. This is a guy that, hopefully for Toronto Maple Leaf fans, he stays there. But the way he shoots the puck, I haven't seen in a long time until Connor Bedard has come along. So I can't wait to see how he actually performs at the NHL level when we get to see him in October. But right now, Austin Matthews, for NHL players at this moment who's played games, has the best shot in the league. I think he's a fantastic hockey player. So I have him at number 2. I think Jack Hughes, 99 points. He just was in control of games for New Jersey this year. His speed is elite. His edge work's elite. His stick handling, his passing ability. For me, I know right now, like Matt Tkachuk plays a heavy game and he's clutch. Austin Matthews' shot is ridiculous, but right now I like Jack Hughes. I think he has the total package, and I hate that he's a New Jersey Devil, but for me right now, he's my number 1 American-born player.
All right, and let's take a look at the 3 of us. These were all of our top 5 Americans right now. I actually had Eichel as an honorable mention with Adam Fox. I had Tage Thompson in my top 5, but a pretty similar one. Me and Phil both had Austin Matthews on there, and Phil had Adam Fox at 2. Elaborate on your thinking.
So out of all those guys, who has the hardware?
That would be Matthews and Fox.
And Matthews and Fox have the hardware. Matthews is obviously, goal scoring titles, MVP, but Adam Fox is the guy that has been closer to being the best at his position than anyone else on that list, other than Matthews. Adam Fox has won a Norris Trophy. He's a 2-time All-Star. And then on top of that, just look at his other finishes. Top 5 in Norris finished last year. Finalist, runner-up this year, on top of winning it in 2021. So Jack Hughes, while he's great offensively, what has Jack Hughes done other than score points?
Well, he's also got the potential. I think that's another thing.
He's got potential, yeah, but Matthew Tkachuk has been better than he's been. Mm-hmm. Matthew Tkachuk is all right, so I don't think there's another player in the salary cap era that has scored 100 points with 2 different teams.
In back-to-back years?
No, in general.
Oh, that's even more amazing when you think about that.
I don't think it's been done in general. I mean, if you think about it, the list of 100-point scorers that have done it with 2 different teams, Heatley did it with Ottawa. He didn't do it with Atlanta. Kovalchuk never did it. Crosby's only done it with 1 team, obviously. Mm-hmm. Thornton did it with Boston, but he did it before the salary cap was brought in.
Yeah, all right, so there's an extra one for you.
Yeah.
So it was before the salary cap came in.
It was before the salary cap. So, I mean, you have all those guys. And honestly, Adam Fox should have won the Norris Trophy this year. I'm sorry, but it's absolute bullshit that they gave it to a guy who couldn't play defense out of a wet paper bag.
But would you say he's the 5th defenseman all time, 5th or 6th to have 100 points?
To have 100 points this season. Yeah, I get the historical, significance of it, but there's also a historical precedent that a 100-point defenseman didn't win the Norris Trophy. And not only was Erik Karlsson not on a playoff team, but he was an absolute liability on the ice in his own zone. Absolute liability. The numbers independently would even tell you this. So Adam Fox, to me, I have him at number 2. And then I have Tkachuk at 3. Robertson is an absolute animal, and I think he's just going to get better too. I had him at 4. And then Eichel's resurgence this year just shows you how good he is. And not only that, but Eichel showed you that he can actually play good 2-way hockey in the playoffs. Mm-hmm.
He was actually part of a line that helped kind of keep Connor McDavid quiet at the end of Game 6, and that's saying something right there. I'm going to go with a name that's on my list, and also a name that that we've already mentioned a couple different times. But for me, Tage Thompson, I have him at number 5. He is he is going to be something else if he keeps his career trajectory. He has got size, he's got speed, he can handle the puck, he can also play in his own end. This is going to be something. He's going to be a player just to look out for. And who'd have thought that Buffalo would trade away a guy that would be a captain of a team and a Conn Smythe Trophy winner and a Selke winner, and they might end up winning the deal in the end of the day. So that's just hard to believe. But Anthony, let's go with why you have Jack Hughes at number 1. It's got to be just for the eye test, right? Because you're looking at him and going, this kid's going to be something great, right?
Yeah, I was just kind of looking at it at just like a pure skill factor. When you watch him play, I mean, obviously then like physicality or being a defensive prowess, he just makes just everything happen out there. Like I said, his skating ability, his passing ability, his stick handling, his deceptiveness. He's not, for me, like Matt Tkachuk, obviously, I think is the better player when you take everything as like a package. But if you're just talking like pure skill, I think Jack Hughes has more natural skill in his body than Matt Tkachuk. I just enamored with Jack Hughes' game. I think he's fun to watch. So it was kind of easy for me to put him at number 1.
Phil, let me ask you this. Who is not on the list or even in our honorable mentions that could crack this list next year when we do it again?
Wow. So we can't use Thompson. I didn't put Thompson because Thompson's really just had one great year. He had a good year in 2022. This year was just a great year for him. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if there's anybody. I mean, I would say maybe Johnny Gaudreau, if he rebounds, could be another one. I mean, he had 114 points in 2022, 41-point drop in production going from Calgary to Columbus. And Columbus, I mean, if Adam Fantilli is playing with Johnny Gaudreau and Patrick Laine, could you imagine what that line could do to teams? That's a real dangerous line right there.
And we're going to talk more about Fantilli next week, by the way.
Yeah, I honestly think that he could end up being the guy that wins Rookie of the Year for all we know. We all think it's going to be Bedard just because we think Bedard's going to score 35-plus goals and 80-plus points or whatever. But Fantilli, I mean, he might have walked into the right spot at the right exact time.
Cora is really pressing for Jimmy Vesey to be said. Anthony, who would be a guy that you'd put on this list next year, potentially?
I mean, I think it would be hard to supplant some of the guys that we've talked about, but just in general, I mean, how about Kyle Connor? 93 points 2 years ago. He had 80 points in 82 games this year. He's a burner. He's got a lot of speed, great shot. He's easily one of the better American-born players in the league.
Charlie McAvoy.
Charlie McAvoy is up there too. I'm going to cheat, guys, because it's the easiest one to say. Brady Tkachuk. Just go right from Matthew right to Brady. That he's looking like a monster, and he's coming to his own as well right now. Look, there's a great video that's gone around Instagram from TSN that the Americans have gotten good at hockey, and when they do the next Olympics or World Cup, they can actually sport the best top six unless McDavid scores like just 5 points a game. And it cuts over to a guy wearing a McDavid jersey saying, 5 points, that's it? Let's do this. So
I can't believe Brady Tkachuk at 83 points. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, well, him and Stützle have been magic.
Stützle had 90. That's just ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But so who are some of the American players that we miss, guys? Feel free to put them down in the comments below. Please like and subscribe to our channel. We have a lot of great hockey content and an entertaining interactive podcast. So check us out and our library of videos. If you like that video? We got a lot more. So check out any of these that are right over here. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Your ideas are intriguing to me, and I wish to subscribe to your newsletter.